After age 60, aging triples your risk of disease. But here's what nobody under 100 knows. Just one single one-pot meal can reverse this aging within weeks. My name is Maria Rose. I am 112 years old, and I have eaten the same 4 meals nearly every single day of my life. And I still cook every one of them myself, standing on my own 2 feet in my own kitchen this very morning. Not with a cabinet full of pills, not with some expensive powder shipped halfway around the world. 4 simple, warm, honest meals. And I am going to show you exactly how to make every last one of them. I'll walk you through all 4 beginning to end so you could stand in your own kitchen tonight and make them for yourself. And stay with me all the way to the 4th one, because that is the meal I have carried to more sick beds than I could ever count. The one I reach for when my own body or someone I love needs a little strength brought back into it. Here is what these meals have given me and what I believe they can give you too, the kind of warmth that settles down into your hands on a cold morning. The quiet steadiness of a body that has been properly fed, and the plain dignity of rising up out of a chair on your own, without having to call across the house for someone to come and help you. Because that in the end is the real difference, not some number on a doctor's chart. It is the difference between lying awake waiting for someone to help you to the bathroom in the night and walking there yourself in the dark, sure and steady on your own 2 feet. And here is the part that may surprise you most of all. Nearly everything I eat is most likely already sitting in your kitchen right now. You have simply been taught for the better part of your whole life to be afraid of half of it. So stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you runs against very nearly everything you have ever been warned about. And by the time the 2 of us are finished, I believe you will finally understand why so many people are doing everything right and still feel a little worse with every year that passes. The first meal, steamed salmon with potatoes and broccoli. The salmon is the heart of it. Oily fish like salmon is one of the best sources of the long-chain omega-3 fats, the ones called EPA and DHA. And those fats are good friends to your heart and your brain. They help calm the kind of low simmering inflammation that tends to build up in a body as it ages. In heart, doctors will tell you to eat fatty fish about twice a week for just that reason. Salmon also carries vitamin D and good complete protein, the kind that helps an old body hold onto its muscle. Steaming it rather than frying it hard keeps all of that goodness intact instead of burning it away. The broccoli brings fiber, vitamin C, and protective plant compounds. The potato brings potassium, which helps keep blood pressure steady. And the olive oil is not just for flavor. The good fat in it actually helps your body soak up the vitamins in the vegetables. Every part is pulling its weight. The first one I make most often, especially on the days when my body feels worn down and I want something light that will still fill me up and leave me strong. It is salmon steamed soft as butter set over little potatoes and bright green broccoli with a warm olive oil sauce poured over the top of all of it. Here is exactly how I do it, and you mind the order because the order is the whole trick. I take 2 small potatoes, the little waxy kind, the gold ones or the red ones, and I scrub them clean and cut them into rounds about as thick as my finger. I set a pot on the stove with about an inch of water in the bottom and a steamer basket sitting inside it. And I lay the potato rounds in first. First, because they take the longest to soften, I put the lid on and let them steam by themselves for about 10 minutes until a fork slides into them with no fight at all. Then I lay a good piece of salmon right on top of those potatoes. I never bother to take the skin off. The skin holds the fish together, and there is goodness tucked in it. I sprinkle the salmon with a little salt, a little black pepper, and if I have a clove of garlic, I cut it into thin slivers and lay them right across the top. Around the salmon, I tuck a generous handful of broccoli broken into small florets. Lid back on. I let it all steam together for another 8 to 10 minutes until the broccoli turns a bright, lively green and the salmon flakes apart when I press it gently with the side of a fork. And I do not wander off and forget it either. Salmon turns from tender to dry faster than you would believe. And once it is dry, no sauce on earth will bring it back. While that finishes, I make the sauce, and this is the part that makes the whole plate sing like a Sunday choir. In a small bowl, I pour about 3 tablespoons of good olive oil, the real green kind, not the pale, watery stuff. I squeeze in the juice of half a lemon, add a pinch of salt, a little more of that slivered garlic, and a small spoonful of chopped parsley or dill if my window box is feeling generous that week. I stir it together with a fork until it comes alive. Then I lift everything out onto a warm plate. The potatoes, the salmon, the broccoli, all of it. And I spoon that bright golden green sauce over the top while it is still steaming hot, so the oil sinks down into the potatoes and dresses every bite. That is the entire meal, 1 pot, 1 little bowl, and 10 minutes of paying attention. It tastes like the sea in the garden at the very same time. And in all these years, it has never once sat heavy in my stomach. Now, I am no scientist, but over the years, I came to understand a little of why this particular plate does me so much good, and it is worth knowing. The second meal, beef stew with potatoes and carrots, red beef, is about the richest food there is in the kind of iron your body can actually use. He iron they call it, and that iron is what carries oxygen all through your blood. It is also full of vitamin B12 and zinc. That matters more as you get older because the body grows less able to pull B12 out of food, and a shortage of it can leave you tired, foggy, and unsteady on your feet. Beef is also complete protein, every building block your muscles need, and holding on to muscle is one of the great quiet battles of old age. The carrots give you beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A for your eyes and your defenses. And cooking them in a little fat helps you absorb it. The onion carries its own gentle antioxidants. And cooking the meat low and slow for all that time does something kind. It breaks the tough fibers down soft so an old mouth and an old stomach can manage it easily. Strength in a bowl and gentle to take. When the weather turns and my old bones tell me a cold spell is coming, I make a beef stew. This is the meal I have cooked for more people than any other across all these years. For sick neighbors, for grieving families, for any soul who needed something warm set down in front of them when the world had gone hard. I start with about half a pound of stewing beef cut into bite-sized cubes. I pat the pieces dry with a clean cloth first. And I want you to remember that because dry meat browns and wet meat only steams in its own water, I set a heavy pot on the stove. I have used the same cast iron one for decades, and it knows me by now, and I pour in a good splash of olive oil and let it get properly hot. I lay the beef in without crowding it, giving each piece its own little space, and then I leave it alone. People are always in such a hurry to stir. Please do not be. Let the meat sit still long enough to take on a deep brown color on each side. That browning is where half of all the flavor in the whole pot is born. Once the beef is browned all over, I add 1 chopped onion and let it soften in the same pot, scraping up all those dark sticky bits from the bottom with my spoon. That is treasure down there. Do not waste it. Then I add 2 potatoes cut into good chunks and 2 carrots cut into thick coins. I sprinkle in salt, pepper, a bay leaf if I have one in the jar, and a pinch of dried thyme. I pour in just enough water or broth when I have taken the time to make some to barely cover everything. And then comes the only difficult part of the whole business, which is patience. I bring it all up to a gentle bubble, turn the flame down low, settle the lid on top, and let it cook slow and easy for about an hour and a half. I check on it now and again, give it a soft stir, add a splash more water if it is growing too thick. The beef should turn so tender it nearly falls apart at the touch of a spoon, and the potatoes should begin to break down a little at their edges. And that is exactly what you want, because it is those melting potatoes that make the broth go thick and silky and rich. When it is finished, I fish out the bay leaf and taste it for salt. And that is all. A bowl of that with the steam rising up into your face will warm you all the way through to a place that food does not usually reach. And it costs next to nothing. My own mother fed 8 children on stews just like this one, and not a single one of them ever went to bed cold. There is a reason a good beef stew can bring a person back to life, and it is not only the warmth of it. The third meal, potato and spinach frittata. People spent years afraid of the egg, and it near broke my heart because the egg is one of the most nourishing little things ever set on a table. The truth, as the science now stands, is that for most healthy people, eating eggs has little effect on their blood cholesterol at all. What an egg does give you is complete protein and a great deal of choline. And choline is food for the brain, important for memory and a sharp mind, which is no small thing at my age. The yolk, the very part people foolishly threw away, is rich in 2 compounds called lutein and zeaxanthin. Those settle right into the back of your eyes and help protect your sight as the years pass. The spinach doubles down on that same eye protection, and it brings folate for your blood, vitamin K for your bones, and natural compounds that help keep the blood vessels supple. The potato adds potassium and a little steadying energy. And because I cook it all in olive oil, the good fat helps your body actually take up those eye-protecting compounds from both the egg and the greens. A humble breakfast doing serious work. I make a frittata with potatoes and spinach. It is the kind of dish you can eat hot for breakfast, warm for your lunch, or cold from the icebox the very next day. And that is one of the reasons I love it. So I crack 4 eggs into a bowl and beat them with a little salt and pepper. Then set them aside. Next I take 1 potato. If I have one left over and already boiled from another meal, I simply slice it thin. If I am starting from a raw potato, I cut it into small cubes and let them cook gently in a little olive oil in a pan over low heat until they are soft and just turning gold at the edges. That part takes some patience over a low flame, so they go tender without burning. So do not rush the heat up high. When the potatoes are soft, I add a great big handful of fresh spinach. It always looks like far too much to fit in the pan, but you wait. It wilts down to almost nothing in barely a minute. I stir it around until it goes dark and silky. Then I spread the potatoes and the spinach out evenly across the bottom of the pan. Turn the heat down good and low and pour the beaten eggs right over the top of everything. Now I leave it be. I let it cook slowly on a low flame without stirring until the edges have set firm, and only the very center is still a little loose and shiny, somewhere around 8 to 10 minutes. Some folks flip the whole thing over to brown the top, but my wrists are not what they once were. So instead, I lay a lid over the pan for the last couple of minutes and let the trapped heat set the top for me. No acrobatics required. I slide it out onto a plate and cut it into wedges like a pie. A little drizzle of olive oil over the top, and there is breakfast. It has got the eggs, the potatoes, and the greens all gathered into one tidy thing, and it holds you up clear through until the afternoon without a single hunger pang. When my great-grandchildren come to visit, this is the one they beg me for. And I will tell you, there is never so much as a single slice left over. The fourth meal, mashed potato soup with minced beef and egg drop. This last bowl looks like the simplest thing in the world. And that simplicity is exactly its medicine. When a body is worn down by sickness, by age, by grief that has stolen the appetite, it needs nourishment. It does not have to fight to eat. That is what this soup is. It is soft enough to take when chewing feels like too much and warm and brothy, which helps in a way people forget. Older folks slip into not drinking enough fluid without ever feeling thirsty, and a bowl of soup quietly puts some of that water back. Underneath the gentleness, it is well built. The potato gives you potassium and easy energy to lean on. The minced beef stirs in iron, zinc, and B12 to help rebuild strength, and the egg dropped in at the end adds complete protein and that brain-feeding choline I told you about. Together, the beef and the egg make this a real protein-rich meal, and not just warm water. And protein is exactly what a recovering body uses to mend itself. It is the bowl I reach for when someone needs strength carried back into them, one easy spoonful at a time. It is a soft potato soup with a little minced beef stirred all the way through it, and an egg dropped in at the very last moment, so it blooms into silky ribbons. I peel and chop 2 potatoes and put them in a pot with enough water to cover them well. I add a good pinch of salt and let them boil until they are very soft. Soft enough to mash easily, about 15 minutes. Then right there in the same pot, I mash them roughly with a fork or a masher, but I leave the cooking water in with them. Now, this is important. I am not making stiff mashed potatoes here. I am making a thick, creamy soup, so I keep it loose and add a little more hot water whenever it needs it until it is the consistency of a comfortable porridge. In a separate small pan, I cook a few spoonfuls of minced beef in just a touch of olive oil, breaking it up small with my spoon, seasoned with a little salt and pepper until it is browned through. Then I stir that beef and all its good juices straight into the potato soup, so the flavor runs through the whole pot. And now for the egg, which is my very favorite part to watch even after all these years. I beat 1 egg in a cup. I bring the soup back up to a gentle simmer, and then, while I am stirring the soup slowly around and around in one direction with my spoon, I pour the beaten egg in a thin, steady stream. The moving soup catches the egg and pulls it into soft little ribbons right there before your eyes, like ribbons of silk. I stir for just a few seconds more, and then I turn the heat off, a drizzle of olive oil over the top, a sprinkle of pepper, and a few green onions if I happen to have them. This is the very bowl I have carried to so many sick beds over the long years. Soft enough for someone with no appetite to manage, and nourishing enough to coax a little strength back into them. It asks nothing of you to eat it, and it gives a great deal in return, what the doctors never wrote on any chart. So there they are, my 4 meals, the salmon, the stew, the frittata, and the soup. Real food made simply, made with my own 2 hands. And I believe with my whole heart that they have served this old body well across a great many years. But now I have to tell you the part that matters most, and it is the part no doctor ever wrote on any chart of mine, and the part most people will be tempted to skip right over. The food is only half of it. If I am being honest with you, and at my age, I have no reason left to be anything but honest. It may be a good deal less than half. I have known people who ate carefully, who walked faithfully every single morning, who did every last thing a body is supposed to do, and they left this world far too soon, worn out and bitter, and closed up tight as a fist. And I have known others who ate plainly, and worked hard and worried little, and who stayed bright and upright clear into their 90s. For 112 years, I have watched this happen again and again and again until I simply could not call it a coincidence anymore. So if you will let an old woman sit with you for one more moment, I want to tell you what I have come to believe is the real pillar holding a life upright. Because it is not your money. I have been poor and I have been comfortable in this life, and I can promise you that neither one of those ever kept a single person I loved alive one day longer. And it is not even your food as much as I do love my 4 meals. And it is not your legs either. Though Lord knows I am grateful every single morning that mine still carry me from this bed to that stove. The real pillar of a life is your spirit. It is the condition of the heart you carry around inside you. I learned that slowly, and I learned a great deal of it from one particular person. When I was just a girl in school, I had a dear friend, the steadiest soul I ever knew in all my days. We were as close as 2 sisters back in those years, and then life pulled us off in different directions the way it so often does. And I did not lay eyes on her for the better part of 50 years. When the 2 of us finally found each other again as old women, I was astonished. Not so much by how she looked, though she had aged gently and kindly, but by how she was. She had been through hard things, real grief, real loss, the same as anyone who lives long enough. And yet there was a stillness in her, a kind of quiet light that all those hard years had somehow never managed to wear away. So I asked her plainly what her secret was. She told me she had spent her whole life trying to hold fast to 3 simple things. To be truthful with other people, yes, but first and foremost with her own self. To meet folks with compassion, even the difficult ones, even the ones who had not earned it. Because, she said, the kindness was for the sake of her own heart, every bit as much as for theirs. And to carry patience, what the old folks used to call forbearance, to bear up under the hard days without letting them turn her hard. Truthfulness, compassion, patience. It sounds almost too plain and too simple to matter, doesn't it? But I carried those 3 words home with me, and I have done my best to live by them every single day since. And I will tell you in all honesty, they have done more for my health than any food on any plate I ever set before myself. And here is why I have come to believe that, so deeply when you stop lying to other people and to your own self. You set down a heavy weight you never even knew you were carrying. When you choose compassion over resentment, you stop drinking the slow poison of your own anger. And that poison is as real as anything in this world. I have watched it eat good people alive from the inside out. And when you learn a little patience, you stop letting every small storm shake you to pieces. A heart at peace simply does not wear the body down the way a heart at war does. I cannot prove that to you with a chart or a study, but I have spent 112 years watching it be true, and that is a kind of proof all its own. The other thing, and this one is just as important, so hear me, is that I have never once stopped looking for ways to be useful to somebody. That is the secret nobody warns you about when it comes to growing old. The real danger is not your body wearing out. The real danger is the day you start to feel that you no longer matter to anyone. So I made it my own business to always matter to someone. I cooked for the sick. I sat with the lonely. I held the hands of the dying and the hands of the newly born. And even now at 112, I find some small way every single day to lighten somebody else's load, even if it is only a kind word through a window. And do you know what that does for a person? It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It gives you a place in this world, a thread that ties you to other people. A soul with a reason to live tends to keep right on living, and a soul with no reason at all tends to fade away. no matter how strong its legs may be. I have seen it far too many times to ever doubt it now. Purpose is not some luxury meant only for the young. It is medicine for the old, so this is everything I know after 112 years of living, and I am handing it to you with all the love I have left in me to give. Eat simply, make your 4 meals or your 3 or your 6 with your own 2 hands from real and honest food, and let that be enough for you. Stop chasing the new fashion every season as it rolls down the road, because the chasing itself will wear you out long before any plate of food ever could. But more than that, far more than that, tends to your spirit. Tell the truth, be gentle with people, and most of all with the ones who make it hardest. Carry your troubles with patience instead of letting your troubles carry you off. Forgive the folks you are still quietly angry at, not because they have earned it, but because you, my dear, deserve to finally set that weight down and walk lighter, and find some way, however small and humble, to be of use to another person every single day that you are given. That is the pillar, that is the thing that keeps a whole life from caving in on itself. Not the money, not the food, not the legs, but the spirit. I am Maria Rose. I am 112 years old. I am still here in my own kitchen, still cooking my same 4 meals, and still looking for just one more person to be kind to before the day is done. Now you go on and make yourself something warm to eat, and then go and call someone who would be glad today just to hear the sound of your voice. I'll be right here, and I would love for you to come and sit with me